Bienvenidos. Estas son las noticias más destacadas de la OEA. Esto es OEA News, el informativo de la Organización de los Estados Americanos. Es momento de compartir los títulos de las noticias más importantes que vamos a estar brindando a ustedes.
República Dominicana se suma al programa de la OEA para acercar la justicia a comunidades vulnerables. Misión especial para el fortalecimiento de la institucionalidad democrática en Guatemala inicia visita. Los ministros de Cultura de las Américas se reunirán en la 10ª reunión interamericana de ministros de Cultura. Inauguración de la 43ª reunión de COMCITEL. La República Dominicana es el 11º país de las Américas en sumarse al programa interamericano de facilitadores judiciales de la Organización de los Estados Americanos, una iniciativa que promueve el acceso a justicia, resolución de conflictos y ejercicio de derechos en comunidades en situación de vulnerabilidad y alejadas de centros urbanos. La firma del convenio marco de colaboración entre la OEA y a través del PIFJ y el Consejo del Poder Judicial de la República Dominicana se realizó en el auditorio de la Suprema Corte de Justicia. El acto estuvo encabezado por el magistrado Samuel Arias Arceno, juez de la primera sala de la institución, junto al coordinador general de las instituciones, Juan Carlos Roncal, el representante de la OEA en República Dominicana, Esteban Torres, y el director general de la Administración y Carrera Judicial, Jonathan Toribio. El magistrado Arias resaltó la importancia del acuerdo y sostuvo que los facilitadores judiciales son líderes comunitarios que de manera voluntaria colaboran en sus comunidades promoviendo una justicia de paz, oportuna y cercana a las personas. Explicó que su función está centrada especialmente en trabajar con las comunidades más vulnerables y de difícil acceso, brindando asesoría sobre temas básicos y fomentando el diálogo, la paz y la convivencia social. Por su parte, el coordinador general de la institución destacó la importancia de la alianza al señalar que acercar la justicia a las comunidades es fortalecer la democracia desde sus raíces. Una justicia accesible es una garantía y un derecho humano que todos estamos llamados a cumplir. Estamos muy satisfechos e ilusionados con la incorporación de la República Dominicana al programa y esperamos poder comenzar a trabajar con las autoridades judiciales dominicanas lo antes posible para acercar la justicia a quienes aún no la disfrutan, agregó Roncal. El acuerdo también formaliza el inicio del Servicio Nacional de Facilitadores Judiciales en el país bajo el marco de la institución. En el acto estuvieron presentes los embajadores acreditados en el país en representación del Reino de los Países Bajos y de la República Italiana, países que han apoyado a la OEA en la difusión de este programa en América, así como embajadores, representantes de países americanos, jueces, juezas, servidores judiciales y líderes comunitarios. Además de República Dominicana participan el Instituto de Argentina, Colombia, Costa Rica, El Salvador, Estados Unidos, Guatemala, Honduras, Panamá, Paraguay y Perú. La misión especial de la Organización de los Estados Americanos para el fortalecimiento de la institucionalidad democrática en Guatemala iniciará su primera visita al país el próximo 9 de noviembre. El secretario general de la OEA, Albert Ramdin, anunció el despliegue de esta misión especial como continuación a la misión desplegada en 2024 por la OEA para la observación del proceso de elección de la Corte Suprema de Justicia, las Cortes de Apelaciones y otros tribunales de igual categoría. Esta misión, establecida por invitación del gobierno de Guatemala, dará seguimiento a los procesos de elección de magistrados del Tribunal Supremo Electoral, magistrados de la Corte Constitucional, fiscal general y contralor general de cuentas. De igual forma, promoverá un diálogo inclusivo y participativo con todos los sectores de la sociedad orientado al fortalecimiento de la institucionalidad democrática. Durante la estadía, la misión, integrada por los expertos María Paulina Aguirre Suárez, Marcela Ríos Tobar y Carlos Ayala Corao, sostendrán reuniones con autoridades nacionales, organizaciones de la sociedad civil y otros grupos relevantes a fin de recabar información de interés previo al inicio de la instalación de las comisiones de postulación. La misión abrió un canal de comunicación con instituciones privadas, organizaciones de la sociedad civil y la ciudadanía en general para que puedan presentar información que se considere relevante para las labores de la misión. Los ministros de Cultura de las Américas se reunirán en la 10ª reunión interamericana de ministros de Cultura bajo el tema Avanzar la cultura y la economía creativa para la prosperidad en las Américas, que se realizará el 13 y 14 de noviembre en la sede de la OEA. El secretario general de la OEA, Albert Ramdin, participó de la inauguración de la 43ª reunión del COMCITEL.
Good morning, buenos días, and let me repeat, I'm very pleased to see permanent representatives of the Organization of American States present. I know Wednesday is always one of the most difficult days within the life of the OES because the Permanent Council will meet in half an hour. But appreciate your presence. Distinguished Vice Minister of Connectivity of Colombia, Ms. Gloria Patricia Perdomo Rangel, the Vice Minister of Telecommunications of Costa Rica, Mr. Hubert Vargas Picasso, our Executive Secretary for CITEL, Oscar Leon, members of the Permanent Executive Committee of CITEL, National Telecommunications Authorities, private sector representatives, distinguished guests, and ladies and gentlemen. Let me begin by extending my gratitude to the Executive Secretary of CITEL, who, with limited means, is delivering a lot. So thank you very much. We know the challenges which we face in the hemisphere, but with the little which we have, a lot is being done, and I'll speak to that, so that you can see in very concrete terms where the value lies of such an institution within the institution. And I want to thank also all member states for their commitment, continued commitment to this process, which seems technical, but it has a lot of political and social implications. I'm very happy to inaugurate the 43rd meeting of ComCitel, which takes place at a crucial moment for telecommunications and digital transformation in the Americas. This meeting therefore reflects our shared commitment to collaboration and progress through connection. Because it is only natural and logical, in my view, that we exchange information. It lies at the core of human nature. We talk to each other, we share perspectives, and it is good to communicate, because it is only through information and knowledge exchange that we can gain common ground to create peace and prosperity for our region. But more importantly, if we communicate, we come to know each other. And that is what you facilitate, not only among yourself, but also between societies. And based on that, what we gain is even more important than the other matters which I raised, is trust. We must have trust together and building that future for the Americas. This spirit of exchange and cooperation is not new to the Americas. Our hemisphere cooperation and communications goes back, and I was surprised to read this, goes back more than a century, as early as 1890, that's a century and a half ago almost. The first International American Conference adopted resolutions that envisioned connecting our nations. One of them calling for a submarine telegraph cable to link the countries of the Americas. That ideal has not gone. It's still here. And it's still something which we need to work on more strongly. And then, decades later, in 1923, the Fifth International American Conference created the Inter-American Electrical Communication Commission under the Pan-American Union, which would later become the Organization of American States. So you see, the leaders of the hemisphere has had this thinking long time ago, when communication was not as easy as it is today. So I hope we can continue in that spirit. If we fast forward to 135 years later, I wish to recognize CITEL for the tangible results achieved through the TIC 2030 Americas. Its technical support to member states in implementing recommendations to reduce the digital divide, to enhance regulatory improvement, and its implementation of projects funded through grants and contributions that expand equitable access to telecommunication and ICT across the hemisphere. The CITEL Secretariat is advancing digital inclusion across the Americas through key partnerships. And I'll indicate some of the results here, which in my view speak to itself. That partnership resulted that Millicom trained over 1.2 million people on safe internet use and connected almost 3,000 schools. Pro Futuro trained plus 1,300 teachers. Fiasat connected 75 villages and 20,000 schools in Mexico. Telefonica and Meta expanded connectivity to 3.8 million people and trained 355,000 in digital skills. VRIO benefited 2.4 million students and 160,000 teachers through Escuela Plus. ISOC supported communities networks in Argentina, Brazil, Colombia, and Guatemala to boost digital access and skills. This is critically important to share with member states so that we know where the value lies of multilateralism and of collective action. If we don't do that, we think the OAS is not doing anything, but here, these are hard figures. These are numbers which speak to itself. And as you know, we're going to intensify this process, because one of my principal focus points and goals is to intensify collaboration with the private sector in all these areas, so that we can benefit even more. The OES cannot do everything, but we can facilitate, mobilize, and support that process. And that's exactly where we see the partnership with the private sector in telecommunications. And we know that we live in an era of rapid change. We have to really prepare for that, marked by emerging technologies, digital convergence, growing demands for inclusive connectivity, artificial intelligence, lots are being spoken about that, cybersecurity, data analysis, and the need for resilient critical infrastructure and universal access. The Minister spoke about that. The pace and scale of these developments pose clear challenges, and not only in the area of technology and financing and building infrastructure, but also in the use of it and the way it is being used. It can be used positively and negatively, and we have to be aware of that aspect. In many countries of our region, digital divides persist and grow larger quickly. This is one of the milestones which we need to achieve within a certain time frame. That digital divide is not an issue anymore, but it still exists in our hemisphere. While other technologies are moving far ahead, we're still dealing with some basics in technology and communication within countries. We spoke about the districts, the provinces, the difficult to reach areas. Technology should overcome those impediments. So, rural areas remain unconnected, institutional capacities are uneven, and technical resources are limited. Moreover, global challenges such as technological sovereignty, data protection, internet governance, and climate change have a direct impact on telecommunications and digital policies. It is within these new realities that we must unite to address challenges that no single actor can manage alone. That's a message which we give. No country stands alone on these matters. We need to work together. When fostering communication and information sharing, constructive dialogue and collaboration are essential. Only together and using the same frequency, to use a term of your own, and using the same frequency, member states, the private sector, civil society, technical units, and academia can drive meaningful change. It's going to be essential to building peace and prosperity in our hemisphere. CETEL was since its inception intended as a central pillar of our broader strategy to strengthen regional digital integration. Because regional integration goes beyond roads, bridges, or transport networks. It also means building digital highways that connect all societies, foster innovation and expanding opportunities. Yesterday I spoke about connectivity as the principal vehicle for creating a more united hemisphere. This is part of it. Digital connections.
Estas han sido las noticias más relevantes de la OEA, la Organización de los Estados Americanos. Esto ha sido OEA News. Nos reencontramos en la próxima jornada.